Well, this was a private conversation, though, right?
No, you read the privacy policy. This is definitely not a private conversation. My next guest is a digital marketing leader. She has led award-winning global campaigns for top brands like Heineken, Gillette, Coca-Cola, and now she's the president of IAB Canada, the Interactive Advertising Bureau. I can't wait to get her in the car. Let's ask her all of the important questions around cookies, around ad tech, around real-time bidding. What does it all mean for privacy? I see her right there. Let's get her in the car. Hey, need a ride? Let's start off with cookies. And not the ones that you eat, of course, the ones that are on your browser and the ones that most companies have no idea how to deal with.
Okay.
Do you need to give notice? Do you need a banner? Can it be on? Can it be off by default? What is a cookie?
Imagine like a tiny little file, and every time you visit a website, a tiny little file is given to you. And so that's a first party cookie. But then there is the neighbors who are outside and they're kind of watching what's going on in the house, and they also have cookies to give you. That's a third party cookie, and that's the cookie that is probably a little bit more, I don't know, nosy, let's just say.
It's the nosy neighbor.
It's the nosy neighbor cookies.
Nosy neighbor, okay.
Yeah.
Must you take them, or can you say, no thanks, not that flavor?
Well, it's interesting. You may have noticed a pop-up coming up. It's basically the world's least fun pop-up.
Like these kind of pop-up things.
So the pop-up that you get is basically you swiping right or swiping left on how much data you're willing to give this host. Right? So like when you go to a website, you have a decision to make. Are you going to trust that person, or are you not going to trust them? Swipe left, swipe right.
Trust them with what? So we talked about, okay, you're given a cookie, but what does the cookie collect?
So the cookie just, a first party cookie is just there to make your life easier, right? So this is the sweet kind, right? The one that belongs to a publisher who wants to make your life easier by remembering your login.
Okay. For those who don't know what you're talking about when you say publisher, what do you mean?
So like, let's say that you read the news and you go to your favorite newspaper website. That is a publisher.
Okay.
So any sort of website, .com property or any sort of app that you use is basically like a publisher. So think of it that way. Okay. And you're going to their house. Okay. So there is the kind of cookie that that is there because they want you to feel comfortable in their house, and they want you to not have to log in every time. Right. And they are wanting to remember what language you speak, and in Canada that's important.
So for most consumers, that's convenient.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to keep putting in certain information about yourself. Right. You want that website to remember some things about you, right, to make your life a lot more convenient. Yeah. So that's a good cookie. That's a great first party cookie.
This only collects information on what you've done on that website in my house. So imagine you're at my house and I see what you're doing in my house. And that's fairly understable. So you're a reasonable person, right? A reasonable five-year-old would understand that when you're in their house, you're being not watched, but that you are being hosted. Yeah. Let's just say, right? The publisher or the website that you're on has these first-party cookies to better understand what you're doing in the house. Okay. Right?
Then the third-party cookies, the nosy neighbor, what do they collect about you?
Information about what you have done leading into going into that house, as well as what you're doing in the house, right? So that's basically so that they can get a better understanding of who you are by triangulating information. So it's like, oh, I see that Sharon just walked from the swimming pool over to the house, therefore Sharon is a swimmer. Right. And also friends with the person who lives at this house. Okay. Right? Okay. Oh, Sharon tends to go to this house a lot. She must be good friends with whoever or whatever is going on in that house.
So let me ask you a question. The host, the first party host, do they let that third party nosy neighbor into their house? Do they say, sure, come and get all this information about my guests?
Yeah, with conditions, right? So, so first of all, that third party has to be legitimate, right? And not the kind of nosy neighbor that's nefarious,
Okay.
right? Or creating some damage, or like, basically casing the joint.
Okay, yes.
Right? So that nosy neighbor needs to have a certain relationship with that house that is, comfortable. And also they have to have a similar, or sort of like an adequate privacy policy to know that it's safe for the guests of that house to be interacting with that nosy neighbor.
And so is it the first party, the host, that needs to inform the guests that I'm also going to invite all these third-party nosy neighbors to our dinner party?
It's a good idea, wouldn't you agree, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
So then how do they do that? How do they inform the guests, hey, I'm also going to be inviting my nosy neighbors?
Well, this is where the analogy becomes really, quite funny, right? Because it's like a surprise party. Surprise! We have cookies, right? And so the pop-up, enter the pop-up.
Okay, right. The annoying pop-up.
Right, which can be shocking, right, when you enter a house, right? So it's like, a surprise, we're using cookies, or do you accept? So you're notifying the people, your guests, that there may be some nosy neighbors around, but don't mind them.
Right.
We're cool, right?
So are the pop-ups also for the first-party cookies? Or are they just for third-party cookies?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think that it depends on what the first party is doing. And if the first party is collecting information that falls under, pretty significant first party data or sensitive data, then it's their responsibility really to make that known.
Okay.
Right? And to be transparent about that. That's right.
Are there privacy laws that dictate whether you must provide transparency or it's a nice to have?
Well, that brings us to a framework that IAB built out with Europe. So the first law that came out that really made that abundantly clear was the GDPR, which is the General Data Protection
Regulation
in Europe. Yeah. And that one came out in 2018 and required there to be transparency, not only about the fact that these organizations or the websites were collecting data, but also what purposes they were using that data for. And so,
irrespective of whether you're first or third party?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. So it was a matter of, and that's where really the pop-up was born. Right. So that notification, there is no other way to notify somebody unless you're using a pop-up. And, I'm waiting for the day that there's a new system, but that's just not here.
And when we're talking about pop-up, just to be clear, we're talking about a cookie banner.
It's a cookie banner, or it's something that's persistent, right? So, you may find it annoying, but it's actually necessary. Not you, but, the general public might find it annoying, but it's a necessary, evil. And some publications have been able to really do a good job of integrating it into the content or making it so that it's not as annoying. But if the name of the game is transparency, unfortunately, there has to be a level of annoyance there.
Yeah, it has to be obvious.
It has to be obvious. Yeah. And so that's the story behind them. And in Canada, it's less severe than the GDPR requirement, save for Quebec, which has recently introduced a regulation called Law 25. And Law 25 requires you to notify at time of collecting data.
Setting Law 25 aside, because that, you're right, is kind of high stakes now. You got to have that cookie banner. For the rest of Canada, it's not so clear whether you actually need the cookie banner or not. What is your take on it?
Most of the world is now using pop-ups anyways, or using cookie banners as some sort of notification. For you not to be is almost feeling not nefarious, but it's feeling a little strange if you're not somehow communicating what you're doing.
I've obviously worked with many clients, right? And this conversation always comes up. Well, must we have this banner? Because if we don't need it, we don't want to put it up because we actually want to collect as much information from our customers as we can. And if we put up that banner, well, it gives them the option to opt out, and that hurts our business. So in that situation, what advice would you give to those companies that would prefer not to put the banner?
In Canada, currently, rest of Canada, you don't need to have that pop-up. You don't. However, you need to have prominent placement for somebody to be able to opt out.
Once the company has this information through cookies, or once their nosy neighbors have this information about the guests, what happens next?
Well, you're looking for a cookie recipe, Okay, you go to a website, and let's say it's a recipes website, and that recipe website, once you land on the site, there's a series of kind of phone calls that go on behind the scenes, and those phone calls are going to servers, right? So the web page, like the .com, is making phone calls to a server, and that phone call says, hey, somebody's here looking for the cookie recipe. Can you just bring me the recipe stuff, right? So pictures, videos, whatever it is. Also, the person who's visiting is registered with a cookie that is XYZ and has XYZ in it. So that phone call goes to an ad server. And once it's in the ad server, there's a marketplace that happens within a split second. So it's like an auction. Who of all the advertisers currently looking for an audience on this website or with this cookie is willing to bid on this cookie? And that cookie has information. So that cookie may have, so-and-so is a dog lover, or so-and-so is, works in the online advertising industry, or so-and-so likes to skate in the wintertime. And so the highest bidder wins. And as the cookie recipe gets loaded, the winning advertiser the highest bidder appears on the website. And that was based on, and so that's why when you are downloading a cookie recipe, sometimes it's curious that you see an ad for skates, or that
you're like,
it's
did you know I like skating?
I like skating. So, and that can feel creepy, but it's actually really personalization done right. Look at it from a very practical perspective. I go to 4 different car manufacturing sites within a week. Therefore, I'm probably in the market for a car. I don't think that that's creepy or nefarious. I think that's just good business. Knowing who's in the market for a car is really valuable. And it's valuable to me, the buyer, because I want to see new options that I may not have thought of. And the advertiser wants to put an ad in front of somebody who's a very imminent car buyer.
Sure, that's what advertisement is all about, right? Trying to get to your customer.
User. I mean, is it following you around? Let's say it's greeting you, right? Or it's recording some very fundamental information, like sites that you've gone to, but it's against an IP address. It's not against Sharon.
So it doesn't know who you are specifically.
No.
There's no personally identifiable information.
No, in the main, no. Right? So where it gets complicated is when it's a first party that is using the third party data and doing matching, right? So you're getting a much better understanding of your user based on that kind of thing.
I think if I were to kind of take it back and really think through it, it is the fear that there's all these kind of cookie crumbs that we leave behind, right? And cookies may be collecting some of those crumbs, and it's not the whole cookie. They don't know who we are, but they know pieces of us. But it's the potential matching with other information that could reveal a lot more about us and what can be done with that information. And yes, I understand, showing me an advertisement for Dyson, it's not going to hurt me. But then when it is combined with other information about what I've said or what I've seen or where I've gone, that's where you start to think, it's becoming more and more identifiable. And once that is the case, what can be done with that information? But then also, and I know you're a parent as I am as well, what manipulative practices may be involved, especially around children and the information that's being collected through cookies of our children.
This is where it's really important to have general awareness out there, right? And to teach media literacy in a more meaningful way than we do. And also for us as individuals to think more carefully about our own data hygiene, right? Swapping up your passwords, maybe using more than one browser, maybe clearing your cache from time to time, right? There's
not accepting cookies.
But I can tell you that 9 times out of 10, you're actually grateful and you don't even know it. And the reason why I know that you're grateful is because you have a pretty seamless experience of the online environment. And when that goes away, I mean, you imagine you have to log in to everything again. Do you remember any of your passwords? Most people don't.
No.
Right. So I think that there's and Canada, Canada has done such a great job of really leading the charge on balanced regulation. It would be a real shame if in the fall, when they reconvene and talk about, the new C-27, if that came out as being something that doesn't really respect the balance that we've become so famous for maintaining in Canada with regards to privacy. I think that that's really important.
Rapid fire questions.
Okay, go.
Here we go. Cookies.
Still? Okay. All right.
Oh my god, I can't get over this cookie thing.